Good morning, members and the Secretary of Finance and our team. Thank you again for making your way over. Uh, with that, I call this Ways and Means Budget meeting to order. We have 7 members present, and other members will be walking in to conduct today's agenda. With that, can I get a motion to adopt today's agenda? There's been motion, has been seconded. Discussion. Ready? All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. The ayes have it. We'll move on to public comment. Is there anyone in the gallery that would like to make a public statement with regards to the budget submittal made by the Department of Finance? Being there's none, before I recognize the secretary, I would like to introduce my members. To my left, I have Vice Chair Representative BJ Atto. On the floor, we have the Chair for Commerce and Tourism, Rep. Julie Ogo. I believe Rep. Marissa, who's chairing the JGO, which is in the building, should be in momentarily. She's present. To her left, we have Chair for Education, Rep. Manny Castro. Across the aisle, we have our Natural Resource Chair, Representative Angelo Camacho. And to his left, we have the leader for the minorities and representing the first senatorial district, or second, I apologize, Rep. San Nicolas. And to his left, we have a member, Precinct 1, Rep. Joe Flores. And to his left, we have FFA Chairman, Representative Vicente Camacho. And just walking in, we have Rep. Marissa Flores, who chairs JGO, as well as member from Precinct 1 as well, Representative Roman Beneventi, along with our staff. We have our staff, our council, Joe Tyrone, our fiscal analyst, TG, and our legislative assistant, our senior, Miss Claire, and as well as Mr. Nick. And with that, Sarge, can you escort the Secretary of Finance and whoever, I guess, will be speaking? Maybe we can have your division heads sit before us. Thank you once again, Secretary Narita, for making yourself present with your division heads. And with that, I will now you to introduce your resident or directors, I believe. Thank you.
All right. Good morning, half a day. It's good to be here. So good to see you all. Thank you so much to the honorable members of this committee and other representatives who are here to join us today. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of our Department of Finance. I have with me our DOF leadership, the directors and staff of each of the divisions of the Department of Finance. So we're very excited to be here with you today. We've created a presentation to help display the work that is being done at the Department of Finance, and each division will be able to speak on behalf of their operations and their projects that are ongoing. As we all know, we're here to discuss the budget proposal. And So to start off, we are aware that the governor's proposal that was submitted on April 1st represent our current circumstances, and we are cognizant of the challenges that we all face. So with that said, we support the governor's proposal, as we know it is necessary to maintain and stabilize the operations of government and continue to provide the services we provide today. So I'd like to pivot to our department division heads to present their key projects and operations that just show the work that is being done at the Department of Finance. But before we begin, I'd like to ask each division head to please introduce yourself this morning. Just remind this body of who you are and the division that you run. So we'll start to my left. Start with you.
Good morning and thank you, Ms. Secretary. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the legislature, Mr. Chairman, and my name is Pauline Capleo, and I represent the Division of Revenue and Taxation as an acting director at this time.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Jose Simofnes. I'm the director of the Division of Customs and Biosecurity.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Margaret Torres, and I'm a Division of Administrative Services. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Bernadita Palacios, Financial Services.
Good morning. My name is Frank Sellis. I'm the acting CIO for OIT.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Brian S. Nicholas Jr. I am the acting director for the Division of Procurement Services.
Good morning. Asuncion Agutu, also known as Connie, for Division of Treasury.
All right, thank you very much, Director. So we'll go ahead and begin our presentation. So we'll begin with the Secretary's office. And with that, I have some key staff that are here to share on the major projects that we have. Due to seating limitations, we have the microphone available down here. So if I could ask Mr. Ryan Camacho to come and speak on behalf of the Secretary's office and the key projects that we have ongoing.
Thank you.
Good morning. Hello? Okay. The Secretary's office mainly works on special projects that can't be neatly assigned to any of the divisions that we have. One of them is the Munis implementation that we work closely with Office of Information Technology. We are still trying to utilize Munis and all its key features. As you're aware, when it was implemented, we hit the ground running using the basic functionality, but we're making our way towards utilizing all the different features and understanding it a little bit better to provide more efficient services to government and the community. We are working on the single audit for fiscal year 2021. We do expect that to be completed by July 31st, 2024. And then shortly thereafter begin the 22 and 23 audit, get that up the way. It is important that we get up to date with our financial records, as that is having an impact in our federal grants that we are receiving, putting them a lot on red flags or conducting desk audits, which kind of impacts the services provided by doing extra work for the staff. So we're working hard with our auditors to get up to date as quick as possible with our financial records. We do work on fund certifications. We do have accounts that were not necessarily migrated into the system right away because it was inactive for some time. But we are working tirelessly to get up to date and to reconcile those accounts, particularly those special revenue accounts that are so desperately needed during these challenging times. We are working on the federal reconciliation of the major grants that we received, such as ARPA, the state, and SLFRF. I forgot what it really stands for, but, which involves other programs within that funding. So fund certifications there and reporting to the federal agencies. We are trying to close out the CARES Act and the CDL programs. Those monies have been expended. We are working with U.S. Treasury to resolve any kind of outstanding questions that they may have. We also work on financial reporting on revenues and expenditures. We provide as much as we can updates to our federal collection or revenue collections on a monthly basis. And I understand that there was some communication problem early on, and that was probably due to Munis, but as you can see, we've worked around that to provide as much up-to-date information to the public and to all stakeholders. So those are some of the special programs that we do right now for the Secretary's office, and then I'll pass it and I'll end there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ryan. Okay. So that is just an high-level overview of some of the major projects that we've been working on at my office. We have a staff of 8 analysts, and so we are working really hard. We are overwhelmed with a lot of requests. There are multiple ongoing audits in addition to the single audit. We also entertain OPA's audits and then program audits that are initiated by the federal agencies themselves. FEMA, NAP, they have their own audits outside of the single audit. So we are very busy throughout the year assisting those requests. So we'll move on to, these are information on the collections by category. This information is up to Q2 of this current fiscal year. This information has been provided to the public and was also presented at the Economic Forum hosted by the Saipan Chamber of Commerce. And so I thought to share here again with this body what has already been shared with the public. And so this information is just a visual of the reports that have been submitted to the legislature. And so just to reiterate, we all know that a major part of our collections comes from the BGRT and other income taxes. That's the wage and salary tax, individual and corporate income tax, followed by a breakdown of the other types of taxes and revenue categories. Okay. So this is our collection. This is how we provide the collection update to the governor just to monitor and track where we're heading. And so this information again is as of Q2. We are currently preparing our final report for Q3 where this chart will be updated. So as of Q2, you can see there was a shortfall of 4.1 million. And at this time, we maintain that we have one more quarter to go to hopefully close the shortfall gap. Here's a historical trend of our gross revenue collections. As you can see, it goes up and it goes down depending on the economic factors during that time. We compared our revenue collections back to 2014. And what that means is we're looking at what do normal revenues look like pre-pandemic, pre-super typhoons, pre-casino. And as you can see, we're close to the time where our economy did not have any of those economic impacts. Our current projection for this fiscal year is 163 million. That is above the levels back in 2019 2014 and 2015. However, we did adjust the budget forecast for FY 2025, bringing us down by 3% to 158 million, in line to closer to 2016. I'll just go through this slide since Ryan kind of touched on the single audit, which we are again hoping to publish by the end of the month. The government has already provided all the requests to the auditor. It is now with the auditor for final partner review. So at this point, it's towards the publishing. The audit includes $597 million worth of expenditures in federal funds. This includes 14 major programs. This is the largest single audit that we have conducted. In the past, a single audit would be between 6 to 9 programs. And so the fact that this audit includes 14 major programs just shows you how much work the Department of Finance and all the other federal agencies, the programs, the amount of work that we have to put into the audit now because of the amount of federal funds that have been received by the CNMI. I can move on to the ARPA status report. This information, again, was shared at the Economic Forum. It is based on expenditure reports that have been provided to U.S. Treasury. And so this information is provided to you and just showing the overall expenditures of the ARPA fiscal recovery funds that we have received, to a total of $420 million that we've identified as expended, which is 87%. The remaining 12% is pending our reconciliation and recoupment of funds. We broke down the expenditures that we've provided to U.S. Treasury by cost category. This is not necessary reporting to U.S. Treasury, but we thought it would be helpful to this body to understand the type of expenditures that the ARPA funds were used on since we received the funding. So as you can see, wage and salary expenditures are the largest. All other expense categories, these were grouped. And the details can be provided. It's not one category, it's multiple categories. And if we showed all those categories, it would not fit in the chart. So we grouped them all into one, but the details can be provided on those separate categories. You can see here, health insurance was paid, professional services, utilities, repair and maintenance, and lastly, vehicles. Again, we're just breaking down in different ways, showing how the funds were dispersed to provide government services, also to component units or transfer out payments to other autonomous agencies. Here again is another slide based on project or program, and this is how U.S. Treasury wants us to report based on what kind of projects or programs did we implement with the ARPA funding. So as you can see, the local stimulus that was provided in prepaid cards did amount to $49 million, followed by the CUC utility voucher program, the TRIP program with MVA, premium pay, and other cost categories. Okay, lastly, on the Secretary's office, we are also managing the MPLT line of credit. We did, as you can see, the list of participating projects. DOF is included, as we have an economic resiliency center that will centralize the operations of the Department of Finance. So we are very excited about that. We are in the A&E phase of our project. We are nearing 80% completion, and we look forward to 100% completion of our design by August. And so we're aware of the terms of the line of credit, that all these projects will be utilizing to finance their construction activities. We've recently submitted our first drawdown to MPLT for payments to vendors for the Garapan Revitalization Project. Okay, so that's really the overall for the Secretary's office, and I'll pass it over to the Division of Financial Services, Director Bernie Palacios.
Good morning, everyone. On the reconciliation portion, we do the reconciliation of all banks that the CNMI have. Travel section for all trips and travel for all government employees and non-government. On the payroll, we handle payroll for the entire government, accounts payable, and year-end closing operations. On the year-end closing, we work closely with Secretary of Finance and for the audits and whatever. So I guess
Maybe for entertaining questions at the end? Yeah, okay. Operations also include certification of contracts and creation of new federal accounts. So all federal programs and funds that are awarded to the CNMI flow through financial services. So everybody's familiar with the federal section. So a lot of work happening here throughout the year in addition to the audit work. So a bulk of the audit requests come from financial services as well. Okay. We'll move on to customs and biosecurity.
Good morning, everyone. For customs, CBS, Customs and Biosecurity, we are a revenue collecting agency through excise tax and other verification taxes. And we're still trying our best to ensure that all taxes due to the government are collected. I think I forgot the public law that stopped the public law that pay on the spot. That helped a lot. We don't have those fly-by-nights importers where they would bring in their stuff and then we assess them. They'll take the 30 days and then they'll never come back. That has stopped. The receivables have gone down. We've been still going to those companies that have owed us. For those that are availed the 30-day grace period, anyone that is violate that program, we immediately cut them off and have them pay on the spot whenever they bring their imports. Otherwise, but majority of those businesses that avail the 30-day grace period are, honest to their tax. We just recently repealed, and it's already a done deal, the bonded storage program. That's the bonded storage program is, just to, because goods that goes into, especially cigarettes, high tax rate goods that goes into the bonded storage, especially cigarettes, when they get stowed in there, no tax will be paid or to the CNMI government. It's a loss. But when we repeal that, the importer has only 30 days to pay their imports. So there's no more waiting period for them to put their cigarettes or liquors into the storage for more than a year or what. So that has stopped. The regulations, we've repealed that part. For border security, and I would like to share, and I'm going to have a press conference this afternoon around 1:30. Last week we intercepted about 1.1 ice crystal meth at the cargo. The person was arrested yesterday. An Asian national was arrested yesterday. We also created a unit to focus on invasive species. We want to make sure that all containers coming in into the CNMI are pest free or even plants free. Protecting, because invasive species are very destructive. I mean, kind of neighboring Guam, they have all kinds of invasive species, so we don't want that here. So we created a unit, a three-person officer unit. And they go out. They do for those low risk importers. We send them out to do an on site, and all they do is just open the container and check if there's any pests moving in the containers. Uh, that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, so we'll move on to revenue and taxation.
Good morning again. What I've up there to present to you, we have the 2024 tax season stat. And I will bring also the tax collection task force. I will walk you through to the RMIS task software development. And I will talk also about the tax clinic. And with that said, for the 2024 tax season statistic, we have a refund of about 477,079 on the child tax that we have so far dispersed. We have a 6.544404 million. And then for the earned income credit, so far we have released 15,793,316. Under the tax collection task force, to date, on the delinquent account, so far we have collected 14.46 million. What was created on the installment agreement, we have about 113 taxpayer. And then totaling the installment agreement to 1.14 million. With that, we have 226 delinquent cases, which is now assigned to the revenue officers, which is pending review. On the RMIS project, on the overview, the Department of Finance is in the process of replacing the AS400 tax system, which is what we're using now. And we will transition it with the cloud-based tax system, which we call the RMIS. And that is expected to finish transition by February 2025. The goal with the new tax system is to improve user experience to enable submission of tax information online, scalability to improve efficiency and handle large volume of data. The resources optimization is to reduce the operational costs. And lastly, is really to enhance the cybersecurity. Then we have the University of Baltimore Tax Clinic. Maybe some of you are aware of that or what, but we had the tax clinic that spends 2 weeks in June assisting individual and businesses resolving their tax liability and improving educational, and we provided the education on their tax obligation. Approximately 80 installment agreement with approximately 5.4 million in delinquent taxes submitted by the tax clinic are now currently under review by the Division of Revenue and Taxation. The current challenges that we have with our division is the underreporting challenges. Many of the taxpayer underreports the revenue. There is an overwhelming number of pending audits. Under the voluntary compliance issue, the compliance rate affected by the perceived fairness of tax system, and challenges in educating taxpayer and tax obligation and benefit of compliance. With that said, the importance of the effective enforcement is really to ensure the accurate reporting of crucial tax collection and also balancing the taxpayer trust and compliance through transparent enforcement measure. And with that said, ladies and gentlemen, I know what the governor has proposed, but in order for revenue and taxation to stand strong on the enforcement, I humbly request to address these challenges, we are seeking the help of this committee to look into giving us at least 20% to hire and maintain the technical position related to tax enforcement. We had this university, people coming in, helping individual and businesses, to meet their tax obligation. But to bring about all of this, we need the help too. Because the outcome of that, by your support, is to be effective on the tax enforcement by one, ensuring accurate reporting, reducing the tax evasion, reducing the revenue loss, and to increase the overall revenue. All of that, I seek your assistance in making sure that we try to meet this in order to make the revenue come up, to have the best of the economy here in the CNY. Thank you.
I'd like to also add to Acting Director Capileo that the only reason why DRT was able to produce in collecting over 14 million in delinquent taxes was a direct result of the creation of the Tax Collection Task Force. This was a directive from the governor for other enforcement agencies within the executive branch. So we pulled between 12 to 15 people from other departments to assist the Division of Revenue and Tax. And should we have that support continued, we will see the results. So we have seen what has happened when we have that support and level of staffing to be able to focus on revenue collection. And so I'm glad that we were able to have those results. That has also caused other partnerships, like with the Baltimore School of Law, to come out to the CNMI. They approached us. They saw the work of the task force being published, and they were looking for a community to help. And they saw the CNMI as being already on the ground, working hard in tax collection. And so they wanted to help us further our efforts. And so as you can see, they helped 80 businesses become aware of their tax obligations and also form proposals in terms of repayment. So that has increased our ability to collect. Again, we do have a team of revenue officers and enforcement that is going to Guam this month.
By next week, they should be out.
Next week, they will undergo advanced revenue collection training with the IRS. So everything, all the efforts are really aligning with the federal support to increase our revenue collection. So again, it is a critical effort for the Department of Finance and for the CNMI as a whole. And we're just glad with the output of the collection task force. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
So I'll move on to the Division of Treasury.
Good morning, everyone. First off, Treasury is responsible for all federal drawdowns, reimbursements, which also includes disaster reimbursements. For example, the ARPA funding. I know that everyone here is aware of those funds being used for purposes of other obligations for the government. That has been pretty much going through reconciliation, and we are also responsible to moving those funds back. Unfortunately, not all of it that we have used. I don't know if that's even possible, but that's one of our responsibilities, doing the drawdowns for all the government federal grants. We have made improvements with the governor's approval and collectively with the Department of Finance, Financial Services Federal Section Secretary. We have improved on the process. Now we're having the departments be responsible for processing or preparing their federal drawdown requests, and that gets directly sent to Treasury, and we process the drawdowns for them, as well as identifying the funds once they come in and pay the vendors that were requested for payment. Recently, now going back to that, not all of the grants are and the departments are ready yet, and that has to do with the munis, something about the GBI. But eventually, all the drawdowns will be done by each of those departments and directly sent to Treasury for processing. As far as reimbursements for, such as ARPA or COVID or even the CDL, those are still being reconciled, as it's mentioned. But as they are processed or drawn, Treasury is responsible for moving those funds back to the grant. The next one is cash management and reconciliation. I guess the cash management, for me, I think is the hardest job for Treasury, and that's making payroll, making all, being able to pay government responsibilities, obligations on time, which everyone knows is not always the case. It really depends on our collections as well. We get involved in audits also, providing to the auditors documentation that are audit items. That's part of our job also to provide that information. Passport, was it last year or this year that passport came under the responsibility of Treasury? We again have resulted to just using the current staff at Treasury because of the funding issues. We do provide services to Tinian and Rhoda. We try to quarterly. I wish it could be monthly, but just the staffing issues. We only have 3 at Passport right now, and these 3 are also responsible for other Treasury matters or responsibilities. So we do need assistance on that. Maybe 2 more, maybe not at this time, but in the future. Hopefully, we can get that assistance from the committee and Treasury as well for its operations. We are overworked, understaffed, underpaid, but we can't really do anything about that right now. But maybe if times are better, whether I'm there or not, we can get that support from the committee. And if there's any questions, I'm open to that. That's it.
All right. Thank you, Director Connie. Let me see. All right, we'll move on to the Division of Procurement.
Good morning, everyone. Again, thank you for the opportunity to present in front of you. So procurement, as everyone knows, is the front door to public funds. We work very closely with financial services and treasury to ensure that we have all proper documentation in place for expenses to be paid out to these vendors who provide services for the government. In particular, one of the bigger areas that we do manage on behalf of the government is the contract management piece. Within contracts right now, the government currently has about 850 open contracts, and that's spread between 162 different entities. Not all entities avail of contracts. However, a number of them do, whether it be professional services or acquiring some of the bigger capital items, anything above a $5,000 threshold. Those different areas, of course, involve procurement. And of course, within certain criteria, we don't manage all the contracts, but if you are spending government funds, the likelihood is that procurement does support you in some way, shape, or form. Currently, within the contracts branch, I only have one individual. When I came in last year, I did have somebody also from our admin section supporting contracts right now, but it is only one individual whose responsibility really based on the regulations is to manage and administer the contracts, working with expenditure authorities, right, our government agencies. In line with that, I know that efforts are being made to help close that gap. As our treasurer had mentioned, maybe right now would be a difficult time as we are looking to make sure we stabilize. But should an opportunity arise where additional funds or something to that extent may be identified, procurement would really appreciate the opportunity to speak further with this August body to be able to propose some opportunities that we could get some assistance on. In addition to that, one of the bigger areas too that maybe doesn't get a lot of limelight, but is also a very big piece of our government is property management, in particular the inventory management for the government. As procurement is the central repository of a lot of these assets that the government purchases, we work very closely with the government agencies to make sure that what we purchase is reasonable, allocable, of course, meeting all the requirements as necessary for government expense. Within doing that, though, it is also we have run into some difficulties. We understand agencies in the inventory reconciliation process also have competing priorities. So we are working diligently towards that to the extent where the team is going out and physically appearing at agencies to help support and perhaps provide technical assistance. We have had agencies who want to start, have shown the motivation, but are just not familiar with the process. So we are working on getting them up to date. In addition to that, as the government central repository, we are also working closely with our auditors, be it OPA or our single auditors in this regard as well. We have made progress. A lot of the improvements and that we've seen in particular has been towards our audits on the government fuel contract, as well as the government vehicle fleet. We have these are ongoing audits that happen every couple of years with OPA that we address on top of meeting all the other obligations. As we know, procurement is involved in the normal process of regular government expenses. However, that does not, of course, entail in a perfect world, right? We'd only have everyone follow the normal process. Unfortunately, we do run into issues or areas where sometimes an expense is committed and we need to address that. And that's where what we call the ratification process comes into play. It is an area, an ongoing concern for us at procurement. It is something that the administration has also identified as a key concern to make sure that we have all agencies working towards processing expenses properly based on what our regulations identify. And to that end, we did have the first ever training for procurement, and it is hopefully going to be the first of other iterations that will be provided to help get our government agencies up to date. And yes, if there's any other support that we could be able to do, if perhaps maybe there was one account we maybe missed and there's a little bit extra in there, we would appreciate having a conversation. Thank you guys very much.
Right. Thank you, Acting Director BJ. And now we'll move on to the Office of Information Technology.
Hello, everyone. So we'll be talking about the Munis maintenance and support, cybersecurity threats, our CISA 5-year statewide cybersecurity plan, and our partnership with Broadband Policy and Development. So our Munis maintenance and support, the team is Daryl Tumakani. He's our program manager. I'm sure you guys heard of some of our team. They've been around the building helping everyone. Henry Cepeda, he's our senior programmer and Zachary Babauta, our junior programmer. We get anywhere between 5 to 10 calls per day, tickets, and email requests. We accept help. We offer help through phone and our ticketing system and emails. Uh, Basically, we help users navigate through Munis, work with designation of authorities whenever a director or a secretary leaves the island. Someone has to approve, so we have those people assigned for authority. Then when they come back, we have to redo the workflow again. We do workflow troubleshooting. Whenever Munis glitches or we have backend server errors, we have our team work on that. And of course, we are always getting new users or removing users. One thing about the Munis, we do need to move to the cloud eventually, because by 2025, we will not be able to upgrade the Munis, as they will only be doing cloud upgrades to the system. And we also, our servers over at OIT, the data center, we haven't had maintenance support on those for a couple of years now, ever since we lost our ARPA funding. And eventually they will break down, and we need to service them through our Dell partners, and we don't have the money for that right now. So we would like to ask for funding to move to the cloud, because we don't even have a personnel that can work on the servers. We lost them when we lost our ARPA funding. So, yeah. Our cybersecurity, we approach cybersecurity through layers. On the outside, we have our firewall, which is our Cato firewall, and on the inside, we use a enterprise software antivirus called Sentinel-1. And since we don't have the security, our staff for cybersecurity here on island, we use managed detection and response teams from these companies, Sentinel-1 and Cato. And they handle all the events that happened on our firewall and our enterprise software. So in April, we got about 233 million security events. They've investigated 56. Majority of them are false positives, but then they did identify 13 suspicious and malicious stories or events, but those were resolved by the MDR team. And if it wasn't resolved by Cato, it would be resolved by Sentinel-1. We get anywhere from like malwares, potentially unwanted programs, intrusion detections, and either it's blocked by our Cato firewall or our Sentinel-1 software will catch the unwanted program and delete it from the computer remotely. Okay. Same thing in May. These are the average security events we get every month. But thanks to our managed detection response teams, we're able to stay safe. And that's just for Department of Finance. Okay, let's move on to CNMI-wide, island-wide cybersecurity plan. This is for all the government agencies and autonomous agencies. We put together a committee. We submitted our plan, and it was approved last year. So we are getting funding for that. And our strategy is basically standardize all our policies and procedures for all government agencies and autonomous agencies when it comes to cybersecurity plan. That's on top of the policies and procedures each IT department and various agencies should already have. But as a committee, we've provided these policies and procedures. And then we're also going to start using identity, Microsoft 365. That's your email. Hopefully we can get all agencies and autonomous agencies under Microsoft 365 to provide identity emails. And then we've gone to the cnmi.gov domain. We're no longer using gov.mp. We're still transitioning. We're not fully implemented, but all government agencies will eventually be under cnmi.gov. So it'd be like dol.cnmi.gov, dof, cnmi.gov, and so on. And with that Microsoft identity, we'll employ zero trust security. Using that identity, we'll deny. It's basically zero trust security is, think of it as a building. If you want access to that building, whether you're inside or outside, you will need to verify your identity, which will be your Microsoft 365 identity. And then you're authorized based on your identity, where you can go in the building or where you can go on the network. So it's basically least privilege access, verify, and risk mitigation. So deny everything and identify who you are to access our systems, whether it be the Munis, RMIS, email, anything like that. And then also using enterprise antivirus along with your firewall, and then training and awareness. Our biggest threat to security are the users themselves. When they're not aware, they fall for scams or phishing attacks. So we plan to educate all users within the government. And then training for the IT staff to stay on top of all cybersecurity happenings. And okay. Oh yeah, and then that's the last one. And just with the broadband, we've offered, when we were at the HoR building, we gave them office space to operate out of. We helped with the digital equity planning stages in the beginning, but when they got their program manager, they took over the digital equity planning, and we help them with technical support now. Whenever they have any network questions or computer problems, we offer our support to them.
All right, thanks, Director Celis. Now we'll move on to the last section of our presentation, and this is the GHLI program that the Secretary's Office does manage. So I'll ask Ms. Velma Palacios to carry on with this presentation.
Good morning. So we'll go over the health insurance statistics and allocation. As you can see, back one more. There you go. Currently, we have total subscribers, and when I say total subscribers, this includes all agencies, the CNMI government, CHC, PSS, NMC, CUC, for example. And currently, we have 3,797 subscribers. That doesn't include dependents. That's just the government employees that participate in the health insurance. Our monthly costs currently is $2.87 million, which is employee and employer portion. Oh, next slide, Trace. Oh, okay. And so it just shows where most of the funding comes from, or who makes up a bulk of that, which is currently right now the retirees. They have 1,209 subscribers of the 3,700 subscribers. We are in our current, our last year of our contract with Aetna, and we currently have an RFP out for the health insurance. The RFP closes on July 29th. We also then will have a committee comprised of several different agencies and the Department of Finance, the Department of Commerce, to go through the RFP process to select our healthcare carrier for 2025. And then for the life insurance, we have the percentages there. And my team, it's me and I have two staff who manages the health and life insurance as well as the retirement fund for the whole central government and all its autonomous agencies. And here on the life insurance portion shows, again, the percentage of the departments that, what their percentages that they pay and how much they make up of the total of our life insurance. Currently, our biweekly payment for our life insurance is about $185,000 biweekly to our current carrier, which is IEC. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Belma. And that concludes our long presentation. Thank you so much. That was a total of 30 slides. So thank you for your patience as we went through each division so that they could have an opportunity to share about their work and what's going on at the Department of Finance. And so, Mr. Chairman, will be open for questions now.
Thank you, Secretary Narita. Is there anyone? Is that all? Is there any other one that would like to comment?
I think
Okay, let me recognize Director.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would be remiss because I'm sitting here and I'm contemplating whether to say it or not or what. During the previous administration, there were a few officers that were handpicked and salary adjusted based on the desk audit that was done. And that has caused a morale problem with all the other officers, the majority of the officers. It's almost a daily thing for me to be asked, when are we getting ours? We have done the RFPAs, and I understand, it's a challenge for the secretary. I understand. But I'm looking at one funding there that I honestly and praying that we can use is the 9040 account, which was suspended. So if I can, FYI for everyone, just one demoralized customs officer at the ports of entry can affect the entire community. If they ignore their responsibility, they don't care. What, 1 pound to 100 pounds of drugs can flow in easily through the ports. One container of high tax rate cigarettes can flow in through the ports. It happened before, and I've seen it, and I don't want to happen again. So all I'm asking, if we can, at least the 9040, use that, to, I don't know, maybe put a yellow tape, crime scene tape around that, and give us a chance to use that funding. So, I can put an ease to the officers. I honestly feel sorry for all the officers. There's one inspector there over 20 years, Inspector One. One of the inspector that got salary adjusted was an Inspector 2 promoted to Officer 1, equivalent to a lieutenant. And of course, I don't blame the other officers that have been, demoralized with this move. Right now, they're just, being patient, and I'm running out of excuses already. So, I'm just asking, I don't know how in 9040 or through this general, but I don't want to, I know that funding is an issue here, but I'm sure the revolving fund can help. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. And we'll note that, and I've assigned my vice chair to work on the language to ensure that.
Chairman, if I may, I'd like to just echo
Sure.
Director Mofnes in his request to this body. I do know that what he had mentioned, even in the past administration, a desk audit was done to look into the salaries and positions of every staff in the Department of Finance. And the only divisions that were not corrected was the Division of Customs and the Division of Treasury. And so I echo that we do feel for our staff we do need that extra flexibility to be able to adjust those people. And we have the audit to support those adjustments. Unfortunately, it just wasn't done in the time where funds were available. So any provision that you can provide us with that flexibility would help greatly. Thank you.
Thank you, Secretary. I will look into that. And I did go through the budget submittal, and I did notice that I don't know if it's a typo, but both the director for revenue and tax and the custom director too, the salaries is not the same. The director of revenue and tax, that might be a typo because we're looking at 28,000 something. Is that maybe OMB can answer that?
While they're looking into it, I can just mention that we did announce the position for Director of Revenue and Tax when I vacated the position. And we had gone through a long, lengthy process with OPM trying to justify the position and the salary that it requires.
Okay. So that's not a.
However, I do know
typo.
that salary level is not what it should be.
Right.
Yeah, it should
Because I
be
thought it was like
updated.
80 something.
Yeah.
if I'm
I
not
believe we just resolved the director's
Or
position
70,
last
okay.
month with OPM
Okay,
after a
so
year of being
we
announced.
put a note there because I believe the director of revenue and tax should be at par.
It's definitely higher. Thank you.
I feel blessed being here because it's higher than the revenue tax. I'm just putting joke aside. So I didn't notice that the two and I didn't go through like each customs and other I guess employee. That's something different. Before I recognize Rep Vicente Camacho, just a few because I didn't get in any numbers with regards to your presentation. By the way, the presentation was really did learn a lot. It's just we didn't see any numbers, which maybe not to confuse us, but the 12% pending recon, is there a number in that with regards to the ARPA and the availability? Because I heard 12% pending for I'm not sure if it was final or what's available.
That is pending reconciliation with the Public Assistance Office. So we do, and I can provide that at another time.
Okay.
The project worksheets that have been submitted that were.
Yeah, just I guess submit to the body and update a figure so that we can have a reference to, and that way the members will be up to date. And that's also for the FEMA reimbursement, just up to date with regards to the final numbers. With regards to, by the way, I support the submittal of your division. It's actually what the governor's submittal is a little bit better than last fiscal year. I think 3-4% increase. So it's a baby step moving forward compared to what you asked for. But compared to the other departments, that were cut at least 10%. No, not including the judicial and this body. We all were the submittal to this body was a 10% reduction. Just so that I can clear up my notes, settlement fund, we're up to date with the quarterly payments. Is that I didn't get the.
Those are weekly payments.
Oh, is it
and
weekly
they
now?
change on a quarterly basis. And yes, we are up to date and current on those payments.
So we're on the second quarter, heading to third.
We're on fourth quarter right now.
We're heading to fourth. Oh my gosh. Okay. The Bank of Guam loan, is that fully exhausted? I guess that's the POB or something like that. We did borrow back. I'm not sure.
In 2020,
Right.
The bridge anticipation note that was borrowed, yes, has been fully exhausted. We are in the current discussions with Bank of Guam to extend the term of the loan. because-
Refinance you're talking
yes.
about? Okay.
Because it requires a balloon payment in August of 2025 for the remaining amount of the loan, which would come out to about 20 million.
Okay.
So we are in discussions. We're finalizing the legal documents to extend
Okay.
the term.
Okay. Let us know if there's legislative language that needs to be done so that we can, work on that. We don't want to. I know cash is our issue right now, so that's something we can work with this body. With regards to the 25% payment to the retirees, I know that's always been an issue. Are we still using general fund, or we're still backfilling, or I'm not sure.
Right now, the general fund is not making payments for the 25% pension to the retirees. It is funded through outside
Right.
source appropriation from the CETA funds that are provided directly
Okay.
to the settlement fund.
Is that Rep Atos bill, or
Was it yours?
okay? Is that the one we appropriate to
Yes, that
To
was
pay
the 5 million
for up to
appropriation.
August only?
Per the administrator, it's up to August 31st.
Okay. Thank you, Rep Ato, for that. You saved us. I did notice the audit reports. When the rumor came out with 300 million, is it a really 300 million, or it's adjusted down? And where are we with that?
So that was the initial draft that was provided by our auditor, Ernst & Young. That was the estimated question costs of 300 million. However, a week before we were supposed to close the audit, they provided an updated draft where they had made significant corrections to their question costs, and it brought it down to 88
So it's
million.
about 80. Okay.
However, that was there were many programs that did dispute further to reduce that amount, and so our auditors just informed us that they require more time to review the disputed question costs. So we look forward to their final review, which should be published at the end of the
So
month.
none of the, I guess, programs or agencies, the grants will be affected in the future for now.
I
'Cause
believe
you-
as long as the CNMI is considered a high-risk auditee, our grants will always be affected.
Okay. So,
And so, yeah, it's a challenge.
and I guess last, I'll open up to the floor. The ARPA, the famous $225 million, Ms. Connie. Do you want to say it now or maybe later?
I'd like to start with
Yeah.
that, Chairman. I'd like to state that the Department of Finance has always tried our best to be responsive to the requests of the legislature. A subpoena was never required for us to provide or open up our doors for any meetings regarding any documentation requests. An OGA request was submitted to our office regarding the investment account, and we provided all the bank statements and any related material to that Senate request. And so if further questions need to be asked, Director Connie
Okay.
stands ready.
Yeah, we won't get into it.
Yeah.
Can I be at least CC a copy with regards to the communication, so we're abreast with what's going on? Unless you want to go into executive session now and end it right now. Okay. All right. Let me open it. I believe Rep Vicente Camacho has his hands raised first.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, everybody. My question is basically very administrative. So I was reviewing the analysis that was forwarded to me, and it looks like it's a very significant amount because you're only getting half of your budget requests. So the question is, do you have other resources to make up for the shortfall from your budget request?
The resources that we have that was made available for operations through the Legislative Budget Act are revolving funds, mainly from the Division of Customs, CIQ account, and the Division of Revenue and Taxation Enforcement account.
Yeah, you have 7 million, right? To make up for the shortfall.
In revolving funds?
Well, just the shortfall. I was just pointing
Oh, the
that.
shortfall.
However, how
No,
you
we
make
don't
up
have
for that, I
7
guess you guys can do it. Yeah. So that was simple. The other question is there are 37 NOPs that have been removed from your request. Were they terminated or transferred to other agencies? Because that's a lot of numbers.
I believe those are new NOP requests that could not be funded. So as far as any FTEs that were removed, those would have been the ARPA funded FTEs that were terminated last year. But we have maintained our original level of FTEs.
Thank you for that. One more quick question. This is going out to procurement. You spoke about government contracts, right? We're talking about construction companies, vendors, all that.
Yes, sir.
I ran into a circumstance, and I had to explain something to these contractors, to the government. A lot of these contractors do not know that Public Law 23-06 exists. In that law, it actually includes any company that have contracts with the government. Any idea? Have we been implementing that?
The 23-06, sir. If you could apprise me, just so I may be familiar with the matter, but
That's the anti-corruption law.
oh, sir, yes. That's
So is there a
yes.
clause in the contracts that actually states that?
Under the contracts, after a government agency has identified the proposed winning bid, usually we go through what's called a responsibility determination process. This is where we request from the vendor everything from bonding security, if it is a big project, non-collusion documents, anti-drug place workforce requirements. So these documents are all a necessity to consider a vendor responsible.
The reason I asked that and pointed out that
Yes, sir.
public law is because I have not seen any directives yet in the government. OPM, I have not seen it. I figure you'll be the perfect first one to ask. So yeah, look into that and make sure.
I will, sir. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you, Chair. You.
Thank you, Rep Camacho. Next, we have Rep Angelo, then Rep Manny, then Rep Julie.
Sorry. Thank you, Chairman. And good morning, Secretary and team. I just have two questions. And I guess the first question would be for DRT. In the slide, you mentioned that there were 14 million in collections. What is there like a current balance of uncollected delinquent fees, I guess?
I can answer
Sure,
for
sure.
Rev and Tax. So yes, there is a balance on our AR. That is our tax AR. Those are all delinquent taxes from this current tax year all the way back, as far as the tax system was being used back in 1999. So that amount changes monthly on the AR. So the 14 million that was collected was from the last 10 years in the AR.
So is there any balance of what's remaining to be collected, or?
I know that Rev and Tax can provide that information. That is something that the task force provides monthly
Okay.
on
And
their progress report.
then, if I'm not mistaken, you were requesting for more personnel to continue the current operations that you guys have set up. Is that correct? Or
Yes, that's right. Like what I was saying, if possible,
Mhm.
I humbly request, in order to have all of these come to date, with this UB, the tax, we had about 90% from the audit that is really underreporting. And that's why I was asking. Sorry, not used to it, this stuff. Going back, sir, I apologize. That's why I was requesting to hire personnel, because where we really need is the auditors. We need about 90% of that. We had that reporting coming from them, that there was so much of underreported from all the business establishment, not just the individual, but also the big companies. We need the e-gaming personnel again, so that they can go out there and enforce all this business establishment for what do you call this, the e-gaming, poker industry. And then last but not least, in the collection, in order for all of these to happen, we need the revenue officers to undergo a training, so that they can be more empowered to do what they need to do to bring in all this revenue, because all of these is to really maximize the tax enforcement to meet the outcome of what I said, to be effective in the collection in order to bring in the economy for the CNMI.
All right. Thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And then I guess my last question would be for customs. You mentioned an account 9040. Is that the revolving account or?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
That's from fees paid for from by the airlines for the service done at the airport.
Okay. Okay. That's all I have for now. Thank you, Chairman. Now you.
Thank you, Rep. Come on. Just for clarification, that 14 million that was collected, so it wasn't sent over here for our appropriation. Is it because it's deficit or?
No, any collections on the AR is considered revenue collections within the year when the actual collection is received.
So how is it that so assuming, let's say you collected 2016 tax,
Mhm.
it's already expired. So where does that fit in the next?
So our revenue forecast includes prior year collections. And so in the past, the prior year collections was not significant. The more significant revenue categories are the actual taxes, the BGR, and the income taxes. However, it's because the efforts of the task force, the category of prior year collections has increased, and it gets applied to the type of tax that we actually collect. But tax collection is a normal process for revenue tax every year. It's just the effectiveness of that collection has significantly increased in the past year. But it should be that way every year. If we could have that level of resources, if it had been given, I believe revenue tax could do that every year. And that would be a normal expectation of the forecast, right? But in the past, it wasn't. So again, revenue tax has been really effective in the resources that they were given. And just to echo Acting Director Pauline, it's that level of staffing that's needed for that level of collection.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. I think Vice Chair has further clarification questions.
So first, thank you guys for the collections, now the additional collections that you've gotten. But this $14 billion, was it collected within this fiscal year?
No, that was since the creation of the task force in July 2023.
July 2023.
Yeah, so that's a measurement of the task force productivity.
Okay, so what about in 2024? Well, how much was the collection?
I don't have that specific breakdown with the fiscal year, but I believe the task force could.
Or even
provide
2023, because
Yeah, both.
I understand the forecast, but the Planning and Budgeting Act states that anything beyond the 250,000, right, above or below, has to be submitted to the legislature for the reduction in budget appropriations or an increase or a supplemental budget. So I think that's where these monies being utilized.
So in response to your point on the 3% collection level, whether we met our forecasts or not. I believe the efforts of the tax collection task force has been offsetting the impacts of the lower collection on the excise tax. So we haven't been meeting the forecast on those revenue levels. So it's really been supporting the collection in that way, but not to the point where we would revise the budget allotments because we still have time to collect, but not to the point where we have a supplemental budget because there
I
is
do
still a
understand that,
shortfall.
Secretary, but your slide showed the second quarter at less than $4 million or
Yeah,
short of
the
$4 million.
shortfall.
What was used to address the $4 million shortage? Because
So-
we're still living
Mhm.
in the budget, right? That was signed into
Yeah.
law under 23-9.
Mhm.
So the collections going up by 250 or dropping below 250. We still need to address that because I understand that we're not going to get the fourth quarter numbers until December of this year. But if our collections greater than $250,000, we need to at least see that so that there's an understanding of where the cash flow is coming from. If we're only going to keep backfilling moving forward, we're never really gonna have a true picture of the actual work of rev and taxes collections over the years. Because the budget's always going to be short, right? Or it's either going to be short or it's going to be dramatically larger. In this case, we're looking at if we're just sitting here and looking at the numbers, we're looking at $14 million additional on top of the $115 million, right?
So-
If we're looking at it in that sense.
So I guess that could be confusing in some sense. The way that we had presented the 14 million was just as a direct result of the task force. If you want to talk about revenue collection and the budget, those collections were part of the report on revenue collections to the legislature on a quarterly basis, which is a cumulative collection. So the 14 million can be separated into FY23 and FY24. That can be done. But just to be clear, the revenues that were reported as part of the year-end report and the quarterly reports for FY23 and FY24, those are already part of those reports. It's
Sure.
not in addition to the revenues that were collected separately for the general fund reports. It's a part of it.
Sure,
We're just
but
identifying it.
if
as the work.
you were DLNR, if you were
Mhm.
DPW and you saw these numbers as written, it's an increase of $14 million because it's not broken down into details, right? But yet we go back to second quarter and we're short $4 million in collection. So technically, if you take 14 and 4 million, we're at $10 million over the collection. If you just look at the slide, I'm trying to make sure
No,
that
so
that
that's
the
why
other
I'm trying to
departments don't come
explain it.
after finance and say you
Um,
guys are not remitting the money, or what are you guys using the money for?
No. Every collection that is collected by the task force is used for general fund operations, right? So if the task force had collected $1 million today, that would be used in our obligations today. So it's already part of what was reported. So if you go back to the slide where we show the shortfall, there's a chart there that shows the budget as of Q2 as 82 million and the actual collection at 78. What I'm saying is part of the 14 that was collected is part of that 78. But this 78 also includes current taxes that were paid on time, right? So it's a mixture of delinquent taxes and it's a mixture of current taxes when you look at total cumulative revenue collections. If you wanted to look at what has the revenue or the tax collection task force done, we took the portion of these collections for that period and assigned it to the task force. Like without the task force, this wouldn't have been collected. However, if you're talking about revenues to date, that money is part of this chart already. So it's not like we're not reporting that we collected 78 million as of Q2 and it just came in on its own. it came in with the support of the task force. So I hope that clarifies.
Yeah, well, I guess it's better to explain it like that than to show a slide like that, because if I was any other department and I'm looking at the collections, we're over $10 million at the current period, right? But I think it's, if we can break it down uh, per period of the collection and see, I guess, 2023, 2024, and what the anticipated collection of the 200 plus delinquencies, or are they delinquent, or are they in the process of like?
Those are delinquent cases that came forward from the task force activity. So every time the task force goes out to businesses, makes a visit to the business owners, they come in to Revenue Tax Collection Branch and a case is created.
Okay.
So it's because of that outreach activity that these businesses have now started coming in and creating a collection.
And so now
case.
there's 200 plus that
Pending
are in this
review.
process of paying back
Of
or
getting on an
reconciling.
installment plan or just making a payment to pay off their amount.
Okay, so may I ask from your side that we separate that from the actual collections of the fiscal year, so that we can actually look at the numbers down the road and then work our way. Hopefully, we don't have to be short in a quarter to supplement the collections. No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Separate it.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Next, we have Rep. Manny, and then Rep. Julie, then Rep. San Nicolas.
Thank you, Chairman. And thank you, Secretary, and your team for being here today, all your division directors. I just wanted to compliment the finance team on your work in completing the single audit and your continued work for all the other audits. It's not easy. And that was just 2021, I believe, that you mentioned earlier. Hopefully, we can utilize the information learned from those audits, those that are undisputed, and just realize that sometimes it's our procedures and process that can make us more prone to audit findings. So as we improve, we also look at those recommendations, and if some of the processes are too tedious, or there's too many procedures that make it easier for departments to be susceptible to audit findings, then let's change that within the year. There are several times where I walked into financial services and, they need help there. Maybe they have new computers, but the volume that's going into the personnel, like that one personnel is servicing the entire CNMI and all the line agencies. We really need to do better in investing in our human capital. And I know you all know that. And I'm 100% with you on that. And I know but just recently, some of your new hires that investing in human capital again, they've helped you achieve a lot of these objectives. So not only are you requesting it, you've proven it, that more money into skilled employees and more money into professional development for your employees to be up to par with where they need to be in the industry is going to yield better results. On the other thing, in terms of reducing the bottlenecks and burnouts, recently we just had our sessions on Rhoda and Tinian, and there's a lot of human, like employees there that maybe we can tap into to help alleviate the processing in central government. So maybe also looking into having them take more ownership in some of the processing, that if that is possible, in lieu of having to change the law, maybe there can be an MOU or something to that regard to give the municipalities and line agencies a little more autonomy for whether it be procurement or hiring. but just reducing some of the processing that's going to the central government from these municipalities is gonna reduce the amount of bottlenecks in the system. So if you can take a look at that as well. And we're always talking about revenue, but our challenge is, I'm speaking to the choir, cash flow. So hopefully we can re-strategize to work on the cash flow situation, revisiting policy to achieve this goal. I was recently also at Tax and Rev, and the line was long, right? So if we can re-strategize to make it more, and I know it's probably in there because you had a slide on that, but hopefully sooner than later. But um, revise some of the processes for paying taxes to make it more convenient to the taxpayers and the businesses, so they don't have to line up. I know I don't know if it's still active where you can pay, pay.gov. I know we're using a vendor to do that, but maybe more outreach to the businesses. Say, hey, you actually can pay online, or even just mailing out. Here's your bill. You get a discount if you pay early. Um, like, and I know this is not your direct department, but even with DPS, those license plates, every year we have to renew our license and registration. Other jurisdictions, they mail that out to you. Like, do you want to renew? Here, should enter your credit card information. But with today's technology, that can be online as well. So um, rather than relying on projections, we actually have the ability to make change our policy so that it can really help with the cash flow situation by making it more convenient for the community. Thank you so much, Secretary, and your team for all the work you do. And Chair, please let's help them out, because if we don't help these guys out, then it doesn't help the entire community. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep Manny. Rep Julie, and then Rep San Nicolas, then Rep Marissa, then Rep Roman.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, Secretary Narita and all the directors from each division and staffs are in the gallery. I just have several questions, and the first question is to Director Mafnas. Thank you very much. I would like to express our gratitude for providing RODA and reinstating the K-9 division in RODA. We were in RODA last week, I believe a week ago, and the RD, the resident director of finance, just have another concern in the for the as far as the need to establish an additional canine handler in RODA, because right now we just started maybe several months ago, and she expressed her concern that it's overwhelming, not just for the handler but also the canine herself. I think her name's Keone or Coney, and for with that concern, see Officer Alvin King, he has to go to 3 different areas or port of entries, to what do you call it, to inspect cargoes, inbound cargoes. And so with that, she's very concerned that the morale of not just the officer but also the canine being exhausted, throughout the day. So we just want to express the need for an additional canine handler, if that fits into your budget for this year, and if this committee will also consider that as an additional FTE for the canine in RODA. And my other question is for the revenue and tax. I think I brought this up last year with that position under Terry Azuzu, the revenue enforcement technician. She was transferred several years ago, And we requested, or at least the RD requested to, open that position in Rhoda, and still that has not been filled in. And again, she requested again to look into, reinstating that position in Rhoda. I guess one of her concerns too is the auditing. You mentioned about the need for opening up more auditors on the revenue and tax here in the central um, department, and I would like to express that last year, with the request of my office to provide data on hotel occupancy tax. I believe they had to reach out to Saipan to get that data. And when I was forwarded that information, there was a discrepancy on the report, and I was not satisfied with that. So my question is, do you guys send revenue and tax send down auditors to Rhoda to do auditing in business establishment, hotels, and all that?
Yes, we do.
And do you send two or just one?
I do know that there's a random poll of at the beginning of the year on what is to be assigned on the cases.
Mhm.
So when it comes down to Rhoda, that's when we do send out the auditors. But first, they will meet with the taxpayer either through writing, correspondent letters first, to make sure that what they're going to examine or what they have it all in place. But
And it's mandatory that there's always two auditors together to do the auditing?
yes, it has to, because it takes a partner to always concur with the other findings
Okay.
of the other person. So,
And you send two auditors down, or you send one and then they would ask one of the, revenue personnel to follow them?
I've noticed, Representative Ogo, that in the request from DRT, sometimes it's always based on the availability of the staff to travel.
Right.
But recently, we've sent out auditors and enforcement personnel so that they can work together both on the record keeping side, but also on the business license enforcement side. So when enforcement goes along with the auditors, they also do compliance checks on poker establishments and business establishments for business license compliance, and the auditor follows along as well.
So it's always been out of Saipan that auditors go down to road. It's never, the local personnel is from there.
That's my understanding. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because, it's very,
Five. Oh, in Rhoda? I'm sorry, Representative Ogo, for Rhoda. I think Vernon is the only one. He's a revenue agent,
mhm.
but presently he's not available due to unforeseen circumstance. He's the only one that was detailed down to.
As far as my resources, has shared information, revenue and tax in Rhoda has never audit our local businesses there.
No.
Central office will always send them down. And, they are very concerned too, because, when they come back, there's never a discrepancy or findings, on their audits when they come back. And I just feel like, for the businesses in Rhoda, we really need to be more aggressive as far as auditing is concerned, because of, like you said, there's a big gap of underreporting as far as collections is concerned. So with that, I asked if we can again open up that FTA for Terry Azuzu to assist, that department as far as revenue enforcement for tax collection.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Rep. Julie. I did note that your request, so
Mhm.
we'll work with the Secretary of Finance of that. Rep. San Nicolas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Secretary, and team directors. This is just a simple question. This is a question that aims to to ascertain the level of collaboration and communication between your State Department and your municipal counterpart, ensuring cohesive and effective approach serving the community. My question is, are you in regular contact with the municipal level, specifically your resident department head down in Second Senatorial District, to ensure alignment and coordination efforts, share resources, and address any issues concerning that may impact the delivery of public service? Because last time I called the office and landline is off. It's been cut off, and that is your department. And that is my question, Madam Secretary.
Thank you for that question. In terms of regular communications, what I would say is that every director and resident director communicates openly with our office, whether that's through phone call or email. A lot of them utilize email to make their requests. They also submit letters. But as far as like standard meetings and things like that, we don't have standard meetings. We just have an open door policy. So whenever a meeting is requested, that's when we will have a meeting to discuss whether there is an issue, whether it be at the ports or at Rev and Tax or ROTA revenue or Tinian revenue. So that's the communication that we have within our department and within the municipality offices. As far as disconnections, ROTA and Tinian are not alone in that. Our department has been disconnected as well. We have initiated government-wide reconciliation, both on our communications and our utilities. And so, as you can see, we all have a lot of work to do, but our staff has had to go back into every single account and reconcile whether those billings have been paid, and also identify a source of funding to pay those services. So we've been trying really hard and thankful for the revolving accounts that have been made available to us so that we can address those needs. But they're not alone in the challenges. We've experienced that ourselves. And so we just try to work with each other. Yeah.
One more question, Mr. Chairman, if I may, to the Director of the Custom. Is there any, I want to call him now, but I cannot. Director, is there any way that you can provide a canine handler down there in the island of Tinian in regards to intercepting importation of illegal substance, both air and sea? Because it's right now it's like a pandemic down there with illegal substance, and we don't have those resources that we can intercept all those kind of activities. And we are looking at our, especially our children. We don't want our children to be introduced with this kind of illegal substance. They have a lot of future ahead of them. If there is any way that your division or department can assist the importation of sea and air of this illegal transportation of importation of legal substance. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman San Nicolas. We'll look into that. The reason why we have canine for ROTA because of the distance between here and ROTA. For Tinian, it's only about a 25 minute boat to bring our canine to Tinian. Another thing, though, it's not easy to run a canine operations as Representative Ogo mentioned that, the handler, and I know that I've been a handler before. You run the dog 5 6 months, you kind of dirty every day. Well, my colleague over there is, well pressed and all those stuff. It's not easy, but it's a concern that you mentioned. I'm not aware that Tinian has a ice pandemic problem. I'll meet up with the task force, but it's we'll look into that of providing, because you're right. We can, in order for us to search domestic, like boats or aircraft, we need to have the canine do it. So we'll look into that. In fact, the chief instructor is here, and I know he heard your plight. So we'll look into it.
Jesus Mossy, Director. Mr. Chairman, I yield.
Thank you. Rep Flores.
Thank you, Chairman. Before I continue, I'd just like to know how much time do I have?
What are you talking about? What are you trying to say?
I'm just asking how much time do I have because I know that you wanted to expire and cease the session and adjourn at 12:30 for lunch. So I just would like to know how much time do I have before I continue?
I believe you're next, and then Rep Benavente.
Thank you. Rep Benavente, it's going to be a while, so I apologize. Your translation might be a little longer. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Secretary of Finance and team. I just wanted to ask the chairman, because I know that we have another meeting coming up and then there's lunch in between, so that we can, obviously all exit here and eat and nourish our souls. So that's why I asked. In no way, Mr. Chairman, was I disrespecting you. So my apologies if that is so. So anyway, going back and kind of reflecting on what everybody has been saying so far, I mean, I think from Rhoda Tinian and Saipan Sinamay-wide, the obvious problem is system. How we all talk to each other through technology, through process and procedure. And that is the biggest challenge we're having. We have outer islands that have not been included in the technology component. We have, therefore, hampering service delivery and execution of services as it relates to government function. The end result would be less of outside investors wanting to come and do business here because the system is so bad. You got to go to 5 different places, all of that are not connected, but yet we have a system that's supposed to connect us. So my first question is in terms of Munis, and I believe this is OIT. In terms of Munis, and last year you were here, and you had another individual with you. I suppose he's not with you anymore? Okay. The end result was to get everybody into the system, the entire CNMI government. Most importantly, the Secretary of Finance, because this is the front line for money received, money paid. So can you give me an update as to why these networks, in one sentence, have not been connected thus far?
Mostly due to funding and staff.
Okay. Currently, how many staff do you have?
I believe we have about 11 or 12.
Okay. And all of these are maintenance tickets, just the very mediocre technical assistance.
We have our programmers handle the units. We have 2 guys that physically go out for service, like something wrong with your computer.
All right. So in terms of Munis now, what is Governful's job responsibility to Munis? How do they relate to each other?
It's no longer with Munis.
Governful's no longer. So when Governful's down, then Munis can still work.
Governful was the project management.
Okay. Do you pay govern full today?
No.
No. When did that arrangement end?
Secretary?
I believe Governful ended their contract in 2022 or early
Mhm.
2023 um, when the initial implementation of Munis was completed.
Okay,
I know
and-
that when I came in, they were no longer there.
All right. And how much do we pay them?
I don't have that number right now, but we could get their contract for the total PM services that they provided for the Munis implementation.
Okay.
So,
All right. So now that we have your answer, which is human resource, correct?
And also, the Munis implementation was supposed to be for 4 years.
And, okay.
And then that got truncated into like a year and a half. And that caused so many problems.
Okay. And what problems are those?
Processes weren't fully realized. Like they wanted to do a lot of JD Edwards processes into the Munis, but the Munis is more of a approval, disapproval
Mhm.
type system, and took a lot of time to get used to that.
Who's they?
The users.
The users. Okay. So how much training in total hours have the entire Sinamay government invested in training?
I'd have to go back. It was a lot.
Okay.
We did starting in 2021 or 22.
Do you guys give certificates to all of these people that pass these phases of training?
It wasn't a type of pass fail. It was, yeah, you attend the training.
Maybe we should
Awareness.
start considering giving a pass fail on the training, because if you're truncating all of these years of training into one fast track training, I don't know. I mean, we're only human, we're not robotic, right?
Oh, definitely.
And the transition is probably harder for someone else. But at some point, the 3 islands must connect to Munis. They have to have access at some point. And I know, sir, you need funding, and this is why we're asking. Because I believe that OIT and Revenue Tax should be at least funded right now. Because in terms of cybersecurity, how many cybersecurity attacks have you had for fiscal year 2023? Or this fiscal year?
We haven't had any major attacks. It's all pretty normal
Okay.
type of expected.
So in the
attacks.
because now you're talking about Munis, you're talking about all this stuff going in, all these records, money, everything, all these information in there. And if you have a cyber attack at some point, it's not going to be tomorrow, or it maybe might happen the next 2 hours.
Right.
What is your plan?
We have in place steps for mitigating the attacks.
Okay.
Yes.
And assuming the mitigation is asking for money, is there a plan for that?
That would be up to the upper management to provide that.
Okay.
But we do have systems in place like backups.
Okay.
for-
So we're safe from cybersecurity.
I would never say 100% safe.
Okay.
There's always that.
Until we give you funding, then
Possibility.
we'll probably be 100% safe.
Yeah.
So last year you talked about the Microsoft M365 G3 that would cost $1.5 million. Do you still need that?
Yes, we've lowered the amount that we've asked for
Mm-hmm.
just for Munis users. But if we want to get the whole seat of my government, we would definitely need more licensing.
Have you projected how much that was cost?
I believe the former CIO has done that. I can get that to you.
Okay. Can you please give that to us?
Okay.
Zscaler, that was supposed to cost, and that's about your compliant, FedRAMP, infrastructure access and security. That would have cost you $300,000 last year. Do you still need that?
I believe we're using the cybersecurity grant
Mhm.
for that.
How much was that grant?
I don't have the exact number on.
Is it a
It's-
5-year plan? Is
It's
it a
5
2-year?
years. So I believe the first one was like 100,000. Second, a little bit more than that.
Okay.
I don't have the exact number.
In the millions?
Eventually, all together in the millions.
Okay. You were talking about Sentinel-1. That would have cost you $19,500. Have you purchased that?
Yes,
Okay, so you don't need that anymore.
For Munis users, not for the whole CNMI government and agencies.
Can you do a cost projection analysis on how much that will cost?
Yeah, I believe we could.
Do you have a maintenance program within your office, and how often computers, systems of technology will be updated in a year, in a fiscal year, every 2 years, by agency?
We do not have the funding for
Okay,
that.
thank you. Okay, thank you, sir. So I guess then now this takes me back to the Secretary of Finance. Monitoring factors like the GPD, inflation, interest rates helps predict your revenue streams and adjust your spending. Okay. What are your economic indicators for fiscal year 2025?
As I've mentioned before, our revenue forecast is based on historical data on
Mhm.
actual collections.
Mhm.
The revenue indicators or economic indicators that we use to help in our decision making include data that comes from MVA, so the hotel occupancy, the
Mhm.
number of travelers, how much is the on-island expenditure. We also look at construction activities, which is also very difficult to project. And so you mentioned GDP. That was calculated based on our single audit, which is behind for FY21. We have sought federal support from the Office of Insular Affairs.
Mhm.
They did do a site visit recently in the month of May to come and assess our request.
Mhm.
And overall, the territories need for better collaboration on the federal side to assist the territories in data collection and reporting for GDP. And so I'm glad that they came out because the conversation has been elevated to the secretaries on the federal side.
Okay.
But they have done an initial assessment. They met with us, they met with CEDA, we met with MVA, we met with members from the chamber. And so the need is there.
Mhm.
Everybody knows that economic indicators and reporting is something that we need for the biggest financial policy, which is the budget. And without that, it's very difficult to have an accurate projection. But in the absence of that, the reliable data that we can use are actual revenue collections. And so that has been done historically by the Department of Finance and OMB to create the budget. But we are looking forward to more federal support for timely reporting of GDP and other economic indicators that affect revenue collection. So the work is happening. The ball has started. It's just now a matter of time. I know that there are several federally funded projects with that specific purpose. One is to also to assess the fiscal position and the impact of military buildup on the CNMI. Another is to assess the impact of construction activity and that impact on the CNMI. And then for OIA, our request was other economic indicators like tourism. So
Okay.
the request has been made. It's being worked on. Some are actively being assessed and developed right now. So we really look forward to that.
Okay, so in terms of military buildup, there is the Attorney General took out an opinion stating that we cannot charge, the CNMI government cannot charge developers tax. However, there's a lot of development going on in the outer island of Tinian. Have you, do you have an opinion on that? And have you shared that opinion with OMB and the Office of Attorney General?
I believe
Yes
the
or no?
you asked for my opinion on that.
I don't want to know. I don't
Oh,
need to
yes
know
or
your
no?
opinion. Yeah, what I'm asking, have you had the conversation?
Yes, we've had the
Okay,
conversation.
that's it. As long as you had the conversation, then we know.
Yeah.
So then my question to you is, do you support it? Do you support the fact that we should be charging the military?
I think my support has no grounds. I would rely on the legal opinion of the AG on implementation of any tax law. And that's what Tax has to do. Whether I support it or whether I agree or not, the law is the law and we can change it. That's what I would recommend or support, is any changes to legislation of the tax code. Yeah, so we rely heavily on the AG's opinion, especially when implementing tax enforcement.
Well, it's an opinion,
Yeah.
so technically you still have a say, right? And if the goal is for this administration to collect and find ways to make money so that we can save jobs and serve our Commonwealth, pay the GHLI, pay the retirees, pay the 25% for PSS, pay all of these vendors that have been yet to be paid for the past 3 years, then I think your opinion should have some kind of stance. And so I urge you to continue this communication because it's very important. So in terms of the aging population, and because of the aging population, the increase of social programs, and the impact that will have on infrastructure, how are you planning for the impact on policy to support social programs in terms of your revenue shortfall? How are you balancing that?
Like I mentioned earlier, the primary goal is to just stabilize operations. Right now, our budget is an annual budget, so that's the term of those resources in terms of planning for social programs. A lot of those are federally funded. So what we keep in mind is the matching requirements and the level of services that can be provided with the federal funds. I would not say that the general fund has enough resources to fully fund these programs or to supplement these programs at this time. And so a lot of our efforts is working with the federal agencies to see how we can increase our funding allocations. But again, we are also mindful of the local match that's required for those social programs. So to answer your question, it's stronger partnership with the federal government.
Okay, so what is the administration's plan? What's the mission of the Office of Secretary of Finance and OMB? Because everybody has a mission and a function. So what is the mission as a whole, so that we can better understand and plan accordingly and appropriate money to where it meets that mission? So what is the mission?
Our primary mission is financial management that is in compliance with the statutes, laws, and regulations. So the Department of Finance, we are regulators and we are enforcers. And so we have to follow the rule of law, the regulations, and so that's our mission. The budget passes, we follow the budget.
Okay. So government budget should reflect the priorities outlined in its mission, which then you could develop your strategic plans to ensure the efficient allocation of resources. What are your strategies for fiscal year 2025?
Right now, as you heard, we have needs. We'd like to improve our services and improve the efficiency of our department. However, the budget that is proposed right now only is a maintenance level budget for the current FTEs that we have. And so you've heard from the division directors what we need. So right now, the reality is we have to maintain current operations with the level of resources that we have.
Okay, so balancing competing demands for public services like healthcare, education, and infrastructure with the limited resources you have is a challenge. As a Secretary of Finance, how do you balance that? How do you balance your resources? Because we still have outstanding vendor payments.
I would give you an example
Mhm.
of rev and tax, where resources have been shifted to the task force within the division of rev and tax and finance to assist the task force in revenue collection. That's how we internally assign resources to priorities.
Okay.
Priorities, revenue collection. We assign resources within the secretary's office to address the audit, to address any legislative requests.
Mhm.
And so it's not a matter of, overall efficiency. It's really about just managing the current situation with the resources that we have and applying them when it's needed. So we have the same level of staff, but we have multiplied the work.
Okay.
So we have to just apply the resources where it's needed. We are cognizant of deadlines, and there's many requests
Okay.
on our office.
All right. So I think I'll shift then to Ms. Capileo. At the beginning of the enforcement, when the governor had published his directive, how many individuals did you have at that time?
When you say individual representative, Flores,
How many people were under the enforcement task force?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think there were. Okay, I'm not so sure in the figures, but is it 6?
So we had the collection branch, which we have 4 revenue officers. We included the billing section, which had 3. We had the auditors, which there are 4. Enforcement officers under the enforcement branch, we had assigned 4. And so these people had been taken from their regular duties to jump in and get trained with the task force, with the addition of, I believe, 6 to 10 of other agencies. And they went through a training with our revenue collection branch and our legal counsel.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how many do you have now?
Right now, it's the same people that were assigned.
In enforcement?
From all over.
All over?
Enforcement, audit, collection. We had some from compliance branch assisting as well, in addition to the 6 that were provided from the other agencies. And because we're in tax season, they're doing both. They're doing both the regular tax season work, data entry, trying to get the refunds out, and at the same time, task force work.
All right. And so OMB, how closely do you work with the Office of Management and Budget?
We work closely, have a good working relationship.
Every day, every hour?
As needed, which sometimes is every day, every hour.
Okay. That's good to know. Just checking. So, a lot of the things that's going on right now, and I know that there's every agency right now is in dire need of funding. And there's no way that we can appease every single agency. I believe there's 57 divisions in the government. Many are duplicating services. And so how do we figure out a way to ensure that we're using the public money to best serve and provide efficiency and effective service? That's it. And as a Secretary of Finance, you also play a heavy part with OMB to make sure that these plans are executed. So a lot of the tough decisions have to come from us, yes, in terms of funding, but a lot of it has to come from your collaborative effort with OMB and Secretary of Finance, looking at the bloated government that we have. And let me remind the people, especially, this is all under the executive branch, mind you. Now, I don't have a problem with that, but when it comes down to duplication of services under the executive branch, then we've got a problem, because it takes away from efficiency and it takes away from service delivery. And once again, hampering our ability to invite investors. May I ask, Ms. Treasury, Ms. Connie, Last year we spoke about briefly the return checks. What is the update on all of those return checks? I know that we were waiting for some documentation on how much of return checks was owed to the CNMI government, and were you able to collect?
I'm sorry, but I don't have that information. I can provide you the latest.
Okay. If you could please provide us,
Sure.
what are your systems in place in regard to collecting these outstanding checks?
So we get enforcement involved to at revenue and tax.
Mhm.
We send out 2 notices.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, we cannot do offset. We tried to get the opinion of the AGs,
Mhm.
On outstanding payments
Mhm.
that is due to the vendors.
Mhm.
If they have also tax dues, we
Mhm.
cannot do offsets. That's
Okay.
one thing that's hampering the collections. But uh, the we do have a policy where if you bounce a check, you cannot write out of that same account for 6 months, and that's 6 months after you take care of the fee and the principal amount.
Mhm.
So you're restricted from writing
Mhm.
out of that account. Uh, Unfortunately, it's not the company; it's based on the accounts at the bank. So we cannot restrict them from just writing another check from another account. It's only that account that has bounced or is returned.
Yeah, that makes sense, because when you look at the business license, they can have a DBA of a DBA of a DBA of a DBA of a DBA. So can you give me a total number of return checks for at least this fiscal year?
I'll get that to you. I
Okay.
don't want to second guess. right
Okay.
now. I don't review that daily.
Okay. So in terms of return checks, is it less than 100,000? More than 100,000?
For current fiscal year,
Mhm.
I think it would be less, but cumulative.
Cumulative?
Is probably more.
More than 500,000?
No,
Less than 500,000? Okay.
no, less than probably 100.
Okay. So in terms of vendor payments, Ms. Connie, has there ever been a time where you have to choose which vendor to pay because there's not enough money in the general fund?
Well, the 3 categories that I would probably prioritize would be, well, besides PSS, the
Mhm.
retirees,
Mhm.
the usual
Mhm.
MAP payments
Mhm.
and payroll. After
Mhm.
that, then we deal with what we have in vendor payments.
Mhm.
We prioritize by communication, utilities, fuel.
Okay.
Uh, Everything else can wait if until we have the available funds. But those that have special revenue funds, those have to be paid as soon as it becomes an invoice. So
Okay.
that's not a problem.
All right. So then going back to Secretary of Finance, how much in outstanding vendor payments is in your books?
We can get that information to you for the fiscal year, or are you asking for what period?
This fiscal
For this
year.
fiscal year.
Yeah,
Okay.
because that's going to have a big impact on now how we're going to pay that. Because if
Yeah.
we don't pay it, then it just accumulates to the following year. And then what does that do? This doesn't help anything,
Yeah.
right? Okay. So if you can get those to this committee, that'll be great. The other, and I'm almost done, Chairman. Sorry, I'm almost done. So in terms of transparency and accountability, do you have any standard operating procedures in place that are provided to each of the agencies that are under your um, organizational chart to perform and meet efficiency in terms of public law, whatever? Do you have a current system in place, an SOP?
So that's actually one of our priorities, is to document standard procedures. And so we have somebody assigned under the Secretary's office to work first with each division and communicating and then documenting those procedures. So we have already finalized the draft for our travel, because that has been the number one concern from all agencies, is to understand that process. We've also documented the procedures for cash collections, for the cash collection points. And so we're addressing these based on need from what we've seen requested by agencies, that they need more guidance on certain procedures, but also by audits. So past audits from OPA highlight certain procedures that we would prioritize. And so we have that ongoing. A lot of them we are finalizing and hoping to publish by the end of the fiscal year. So we have
Okay.
multiple ongoing.
Well, that's good to know. Thank you. For Revenue Tax, Secretary of Finance, Revenue Tax is indicating a repair and maintenance of $225,000. What is that for?
Where is it? Here we go. Yeah. Yeah, here. There. Well, one is the warehouse. Remember the warehouse? No, we need a bigger to accommodate.
So the repair and maintenance, from what we can recall at this time, there is a fleet of vehicles that the enforcement branch and the collection branch, actually compliance is part of that as well. So that would be included for that purpose.
Okay.
We also have a warehouse for our storage, and repair and maintenance include leaking of the roof or the air condition that's required for
Your warehouse.
Yeah.
Okay.
Space rental.
Yeah. And so also that would.
Because you don't have any, you're not budgeting for rental offices. You don't pay rental where Revenue Tax is?
Yes, we do. We're currently at the Dandan office.
Right.
Yeah. So that's not funded through the general fund.
Okay.
It has been paid through the Revenue Tax revolving.
So that's being paid through Revenue Tax revolving?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's why I don't see it there. So then, okay. So since it's for cars and stuff, Mr. BJ, procurement, do you not have in your procurement, I guess, office a plan to, okay, wait. So are all your cars leased? Leased or owned?
No, they're purchased.
They're purchased. So Mr. Procurement, Mr. BJ,
Yes, ma'am.
procurement and supply, do you have a maintenance procedure for these cars that are purchased? How do they maintain their fleet if procurement and supply doesn't have a area there where they go to you, and since you have the inventory in your custody, how do they maintain their cars? Do you collaborate with somebody, or
Is the
do
question
you have a
repair and
mechanic in
maintenance
your?
of vehicles?
Yeah.
We actually allow for purchase orders,
Uh-huh.
requisitions to be cut,
Uh-huh.
to be able to make repairs at various agencies. In doing so, we are looking into matters regarding whether it be more effective for the government to have our own motor pool versus going out, but we're also taking into account that we might also look at a reduction in BGRT from these taxes that get paid through the money that's getting out there. But again, ma'am, it is something we are looking into.
I understand that
Yeah.
there's going to be an influx in BGRT, but right now we need to bring down the expenses.
Sure.
And we need to figure out a way to at least work within our own government to ensure that we can at least maintain what we have in our custody.
Totally agree.
Okay, so can you please check into that? Because that would make sense to help Revenue Tax, who own their fleet, to take it to you within another government entity
To be able to get the
and
repairs and maintenance.
prepare the maintenance. I mean,
Understood.
if it's just oil change and whatever, that doesn't require, you
No
guys
real
could do
technical.
that.
Understood.
Okay, thank you.
Rep Floors.
Okay, thank you. I yield.
Rep Benevento.
Thank you, everybody.
I told you to have everything all the time. Anyway, uh, thank you, Mr. Chairman and Secretary. First of all, I just like to say you guys are doing a superb job, even though we're struggling. You know, we're having a hard time. I mean, the entire government is in the situation right now when we look at our fiscal situation and the operation and everything and whatnot that we have in front of our face. That's why we're here. For what I'm gonna say, most of it is already said to you in this chamber right now here today. So I got few stuff that I like to share with you though. And to BJ, thank you. You're really doing a great job as far as assisting the congressmen here and everything. Whatever you do, we appreciate and whatnot. But I like to share some thoughts with the revenue and tax. I right before I came up here this morning, I was confronted by local business owner that the what you call it, the inspectors and the auditors for revenue and tax never come over to their place, and they never really check them. They only check. The sanitation would come over and check to make sure that they have a business license and what rating do they have as far as selling their items and you know and their goods and stuff like that. So I just want to go on a layman's style of approach. Uh, I myself go to different stores, like bigger stores, not like Joten, but bigger stores. And I've noticed that a lot of times when you buy item, groceries and stuff, if you don't pick up your, they'll try to give you the what you call it, the receipt. But if you don't pick up the receipt, they have a bucket or a box that they take all those receipts and throw it in there. And I've noticed this in one store in Kobler. At the end of the day, they dug out all those receipts, put it all together, and start adding it up and everything. To me, the way in my own content knowledge, I said, what are they doing? I asked myself, what are they doing? Is this a type of another tax umbrella that they're trying to pull through? And I've wondered too, Acting Director Pauline, I never really seen your people go in stores and do inspection and whatnot. Monitor these people because these people are really, to me, they're just not paying the right amount of tax that they're supposed to be paying. And I've seen that. I've seen that not only this time for years. I've seen that happening for years. And it seems like it's following the same trend. Right now, our situation, the government, everybody knows, how many hours cut do we have every 2 weeks? 10 hours cut every 2 weeks. And we have 26 pay period in a given year. You look at the people that are working. We have to maybe change our strategy. And I'm glad that you came in today and mentioned that you need people to go for to work for it, to help us to try to find some fundings to try to accommodate for your operation, the need for your operation. I got a question for the secretary because secretary mentioned earlier you guys are going to Guam for for training? How many people going to Guam? Just for curiosity.
Originally, we requested for 9, but because of short funding, only 4 is going to go for the training.
Only 4 is going to go for the training?
Yes.
The entire finance representative, or
You
I would
give
say
me the
department
funds to send all
representative?
the 9, and you'll have your. But
Okay.
it's short, so they're only accommodating 4 out of 9. That 4 is going to go next week, and they're going to undergo the training.
Uh-huh.
And coming back, you expect that 4 to give you all of what you need, but it's a matter of time.
Okay. What would it cost to send those? What would it cost to send those people over to Guam and stay in Guam and get trained, and then come back? By the time they finish, how much money would they really spend?
So the IRS training that they are going to is a 6-week training. That's 50 days of expenses for the 4 personnel. So we've always shared with the IRS that this is always a challenge for the CNMI to participate in Guam. So we've already made the request for them to provide training here in the CNMI or to provide it virtually. But that has been an ongoing request. And so far, they've only been able to provide the training in Guam. And so again, we have to come up with the funds to participate. And the last time this training was available, the full training for advanced collections was 10 years ago. And so now that it's here, we have to pull our funds together to make sure that we participate. And so we're sending key task force members that have been actively involved in revenue collection. And so unfortunately, we can't send the whole team, but we're sending key staff that will come back and continue the training with the rest of the task force members. And it's costly for us to send one personnel for 6 weeks. And that includes their per diem, their lodging.
Stuff.
Yeah.
So what is the ballpark figure are you looking at for the whole?
If we could have sent the 9, that would have been around 130,000, and that's at the base economy fare to Guam, which is also a factor in the cost. Yeah.
I personally know that even if you bring the presenter over here, whoever the instructor is or the presenter, if you bring over to Saipan, and train them over here, have them train over here, it's not going to be, I know it's going to be cost effective for us. We're going to eliminate a lot of costs instead of having the training in Guam. But like you said, unfortunately, that it's it's not. But really, when you look at it, with the situation that we have in, the cutbacks and stuff like that for each employee of the government, I think it is mindful for us to really consider it and look at it in that standpoint, how we can try to augment the progress and the intent of the revenue and taxation to get these people trained and stuff like that, but at the same time, still saving some money as much as possible. That's all I'm going to say, but I'd like to applaud you folks for being here and taking all the bomb that we thrown to you guys, but I know you guys are still doing your job. You're still helping us a lot, and for me personally, I'm very grateful and I'm thankful to all of you. And Mr. Chairman, Sidus Mosi, for the opportunity. I know I want to talk to her. I want to ask these guys earlier, but unfortunately, my time was short. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Rep Roman. I'll take one more, Rep Flores, and then
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Secretary, for coming. But actually, my question could be a question or something to think about it. This for thought. This is for payroll. In the government, every employee gets paid every biweekly. In there, how many them allowed it to have a direct deposit through their payroll
to like their bank account or insurance for them to. Direct deposit.
I think it started a few years ago where the intent was to have everybody fully go direct deposit. Unfortunately, for some, it's a problem for them to open an account. We tried to force it on them, it didn't work, but it's very minimal now. So a lot of them, I would say maybe 80% is direct deposit, and the rest are checks.
No, my question, not the direct deposit
Dollar.
from their paycheck is the one for them to like that they have a loan, bank loan, or
Oh,
some
no, no,
for
no.
them to be given the
That was
opportunity to have
since
something that to be allowed it from their
only
check that
two, from my
directly
understanding.
to their account. Because the thing like the insurance and banking, you deposit that and then they pay for the insurance. How about for another account that they want to avail to the
I
program?
think the employee are authorized only for two and net to bank.
Is it the only alternative too? Is there any way that they can increase that if they want more? That others due to the system now. First Hawaiian Bank just closed their office in Guadalajara, right? It's only one office now. It's just to make things. Is there any way that you can have move that to have them more avail to a program?
So this came up when uh, former Secretary of Finance Eloy Enos. It costs money to go pay the employees' bills, and that's basically what we're doing for the employees by allowing them unlimited direct deposit. Is we pay their bills for them.
Right.
It costs money through the bank. It also puts us in, they call it the NACHA regulations, and that's FRB, Federal Reserve Bank. When we have rejects of those automated payments that we dish out to the banks, if they reject, and we're only allowed two rejections for that type of payment or to that same account, and then the bank then will assess $1,000 fee because they have suspended our ACH uh, ability to send those payments or give those services to our employees. It has happened. It's happened for taxes where we get the wrong information on the bank accounts. Therefore, it rejects. I mean, it's hard for us to keep track of those. We don't have an automated system to do that, so we do it manually. Can you imagine 10,000, direct deposits, especially now that it's a tax system? And the reasons behind those, it could be an account close, wrong routing number. They gave us one digit too much or one digit short. So it puts us also in having to pay those suspension fees that the bank will assess. So that's why we try to limit. Um, and the employees are actually educated that for all those billings, they should actually arrange it with their banks. You know, the banks can do those bill payments for them. You just have to send the bulk of your paycheck to one account and have the bank pay your bills. That's one of the reasons why we limit it to two.
About reconsidering having them to avail for additional fee for them to like you guys come up with assessment to give them a service charge. See, everybody, it's not mandated. It's like now if you go to an ATM, if you're first wearing bank and you go to bank for it, they charge you $3.
You
So
mean the
now,
government is going to make money out of its
yeah, so
employees?
in another word, you can generate revenue. Imagine
Sure.
there's 7,000, there's 3,000 employees. I'm sorry, 3,000 government employees, and if somebody will avail and you charge them $3 and you times that, you can maybe 7,000, 8,000. By every period times 26, you look about those 250,000. That's a generating revenue. You can hire more manpower in there.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes,
it's not.
yes.
It's not gonna be mandated to the government employee, but tell them you can avail to this program, but there's a processing fee that will give you a generation revenue.
Yes.
I think every employee will say, "Hey, that would be better for me because I don't have to go to the bank. I can just have everything. I have things will be paid out and be charged at the minimum fee. I think we should consider that that will be a generating revenue.
And also the return check fees. It's
I
currently
think
at
we need-
$25. They should actually bump it up
Yeah,
to
we need to start
150.
charging things with there's no
Yes,
free.
yes,
Yes, I think we should look into that because there's a lot of people who like to avail to that. They want to increase their allotment, but I think we should the finance department should come to a process. You want an additional? This is the fee. If you want it, this is how you pay. I think that would be a good generating revenue.
We'll
Thank you.
discuss
That's
it.
why I think to think of.
Okay.
Thank you, Rep Flores. I guess there's no more questions. We went over over lunchtime, so now we're overtime. Thank you, Secretary. I know there was short. I know we needed longer time. But with regards to the budget submittal, you didn't mention if you were in support of the administration or you're not supporting it. But obviously, your request is higher than what was submitted, and a little bit higher than what was given from the past fiscal year. So I did note that. No, that would be different. Other than that, if there's no further Manny, is it a comment or is it a speech?
It's quick. Okay. So I just wanted to kind of switch the vibe a little bit. And there's this quote from William S. Regis that Principal mentioned. And the best way to predict the future is to create it. And that's from President Abraham Lincoln. So I know we can be all busy in the day-to-day operations, but to get out of this rut that we're in, you guys have the power as well. Benefit of Department of Finance is you're synergized as one. So, taking off my congressman hat and putting, from former director to many of you directors, when I first started at NMC, college was about to shut down. It was on show cause. But as directors, we all pulled together and we worked towards creating a better college for our students and a better future. And that's the same situation that we're in right now. So please continue to do what you're doing. But at the same time, any ways we can change the process to improve outcomes, please continue to do it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rep. Manny, Castro. Other than that, I'll yield back to you. I know it's a long day for your closing remarks, if any.
I just want to reiterate our gratitude for the time, the opportunity to come and share and answer questions, and reiterate our understanding and support of the governor's proposal. You have heard our needs and you've heard the work that we do. And so we appreciate flexibility within the legislation to allow us to continue that work. So thank you very much, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Secretary Narita and your team. With that, because of time, we will recess to 1:30, and we believe we have DCCA will be in shortly. So we'll take a 15-minute break. Thank you.